The latest evidence that the Texans had a big shift in the way they operate to get going on offense and what that means for the rest of the season for the Texans. First 3 weeks on offense for the Houston Texans, not good. Worst offense in all of football, but it looked to be headed in the right direction after the fourth and fifth game of the season. Yes, we all understand the caveat of really crappy opposing defenses, but the Texans wouldn't have been able to achieve those things against crappy defenses in the first 3 weeks the way they were operating. So what changed? Where did that adjustment come from? What can we garner from some of the things that the Texans have said and done to fix that offense after 3 weeks? And what does it mean for the rest of the year? I think the biggest evidence that something needed a little bit more extra attention over there on offense was the fact that DeMeco Ryans took play calling duties, handed them to Matt Burke. And though Ryans won't say what he did for the team, it's pretty easy to see with the context clues that he was checking in over on the offense. Just that, older teacher that sits in the back of the room to make sure that the students behave for the younger teacher. And when the younger teacher needs a little bit of guidance, the older teacher is there to provide it. Not a permanent thing, more than likely, but every now and then a younger coach might need a little help from an older coach, even if that coach is on the other side of the football, like DeMeco Ryans with his defensive background. But that to me was the first bit of evidence that something had to change and adjust for this Houston Texans team on offense after those first 3 weeks. Now, we didn't find out about that until after the Tennessee Titans game, but they looked better on offense in the Titans game than they did the previous 3 games. Then after the Titans game before the Baltimore Ravens, CJ Stroud was asked about, hey, you feel like this offense is kind of hit the stride? Are they headed in the right direction? What do you make of what Nick Caley's been able to do? And, well, Stroud had some pretty pointed assessments of what Nick Caley has had to do as the offensive coordinator.
It's tough, because for him, he's done a good job of trying to listen to other guys, but also keep his core mentality and core plays. But, this game's evolving. It's not, what it used to be, and it's not what it was last year. You got to just find like Coach Day used to always say in college, every year when we hit the offseason for like self-scout, he would always say you have to become the new iPhone. Like every year you got to upgrade or you'll get caught up. So like iPhone, they come out with a new iPhone every year, so they don't get caught up from other brands. So I think that's the same thing. But it takes time. It's not just overnight. I think he's doing a good job of listening to what I like, to what the team likes. And a lot of our guys are young, so a lot of the run and gun and the fun stuff is easy for us because we've done it before. But we're just trying to both get off our mark and push towards being uncomfortable with being uncomfortable with one another, but also trying to get some comfort plays in as well.
So a little bit of the melding and putting together of those two things of what the players are good at and what Nick Caley likes to do and wants to do as the offensive coordinator. We saw a little bit more of things that CJ Stroud was comfortable with in certainly game 4, but also definitely game 5. We also saw a little bit more of what Nick Caley promised in his introductory press conference all those many months ago, accessing the strengths of players and what the team needs to do. And we saw a little bit more of the preseason Texans where they got rid of the ball quick and they had some motion and they were a little bit more inventive. And when Caley was asked about what CJ Stroud said, and we're playing a little telephone here because he didn't hear Stroud's exact comment when he was asked about what Stroud had to say. But Caley had a really good approach, and I liked the way that he approached that conversation and giving us a peek into the conversation that OC has with his offensive players.
Well, I think we have our core principles. We have our offense, our structures, and our DNA. What I think you want to do is, and I don't know what he was alluding to necessarily, but I think there are strengths of certain players, and then obviously the quarterback position. You want to have a relationship, and you want to be able to discuss things with the quarterback. And there's certain things that we adjust throughout the week, whether that's Wednesday to Thursday to maybe even Friday. Subtle tweaks or changes. Could be a formation, could be a movement, could be a coaching point on a particular play, and we're always going to do what we got to do to be able to tweak those things to put us in the best position possible. And I think the quarterback's going to be the guy that's driving those things. So we have those conversations on a daily basis. Him and I, that's what we're here to again, we got to see it through the same eyes. And we don't always have to agree on the same things, but it's good conversation. And I think it helps him get a feel for how I see things. And then ultimately I get a feel for how he might see things or interpret things. And we can arrive at the decision that's best for our offense. But ultimately we have our offense, and I think it's evolved, as you can see, even in short time, in 4 weeks, and we'll see where it goes.
So you got the head coach taking responsibility away from himself on defense, likely to help the offense, even though he won't confirm that's the extra time. You got the quarterback saying, yeah, we got to do a little bit more about what the players like in this offense. Nick Caley's explanation, where he talks about you got to have conversations and come to an agreement on what's best for the offense. The latest bit of evidence, general manager Nick Caserio, who basically confirmed, hey, the offense evolved. They focused on some things that they did well, and it's gotten going a little bit.
It's evolved. So anytime any of us are put in a position for the first time, you're going to have to deal with some ups and downs, and it's a learning process. So we've all been there. I've been there. Nick's going through it. You look around the league, there's a lot of coaches that go through that, but got a good attitude, taking the right approach. There's always a little bit of give and take, and, well, you want to try a little bit more of this, but maybe that's not the best thing for the team. Hey, maybe we're going to shift our focus a little bit here. So Nick's a smart guy. He's been around football for a long time, seen a lot of things. I think we've made some adjustments and modifications as we've gone. So we've talked about this. You probably figure out kind of what you have with your football team over the first 4 to 5 weeks. So, we have kind of 5 games in the bank here a little bit. So figure out what we're doing well, what are some of the things that we can build on. And Nick's done a really good job.
Now, why is this important? What does it all mean for the offense? I'll tell you right after I tell you about my friends at Sleeper. It's daily fantasy. It's a fantastic app. You're making a couple of predictions. You're putting them together, and your entry fee gets multiplied if you get all your selections correct. You're going to get a deposit bonus up to $100. They match your deposit. You put in 50, get 50. Put in 100, get 100. Use my code STOOTS, STOOTS. Use the link in the description down below. If you don't deposit anything, you're still going to get a free $20 play from Sleeper for signing up with my code STOOTS, STOOTS. But maybe you don't want to play daily fantasy if the Texans aren't playing this weekend. Here's what I would encourage you to do. Use the Sleeper app as your scores app. College football Saturday, on NFL Sunday. It is not only a fantastic daily fantasy app, it's the best scores app around. It beats all your traditional scores apps. Just check it out. Take it for a spin. And when you sign up, use that code STOOTS, STOOTS. Terms and conditions do apply. Check out Sleeper's terms and conditions. Operational over 25 states. And use that code STOOTS, STOOTS, for your free $20 play with no deposit and your deposit match when you do make a deposit. Code STOOTS, STOOTS. Now, why are these changes and adjustments for the offense important, and what does it mean for the Texans going forward? Well, it's important because they're good at offense for a couple of days, okay? And I say good because regardless of the opponent, they did look good against the Baltimore Ravens. You have to be good on that day to put up the amount of points they did. You have to be good on that day to have a big winning margin like that. And there were things about that offensive performance that were super impressive. Motion, British Brooks involved, short options, big plays, Nico Collins on an end breaker. There's a lot to like about that offense and the direction that they finally found themselves going. Not to mention, the protection was really good. That was a big talking point in the offseason, was not only are you overhauling who the guys blocking are, but it's how they block. The protection has been pretty solid for a few weeks now. And the Texans are even trending towards an average offensive line, which I don't know that any of us thought that was going to be the case. Another element of it that is super important is it's an improvement from the building, because last year they had an offensive coordinator who was lost, couldn't help himself, and they couldn't figure out a way to adjust, tweak, change, whatever the words you want to use. They couldn't figure out how to get the offense rolling consistently last year with Bobby Slowick. After 3 disappointing weeks, somehow, some way, between D'Amico Ryans, between the other offensive minds in the building, between the players on the team, between Nick Caley's willingness to change, adapt, maybe even Nick Casario's involvement as well, they were able to figure out a direction to head down on offense that looks like it could be an acceptable offense. The evolving, changing, adjusting, and maximizing what they do, a thing we were promised in the introductory press conference all those months ago. No more square peg, round hole conversations about this offense was another thing we were promised. It's good that the building figured out a way to get things going. Sure, it's 2 games. It's 2 really bad defenses. And those games ultimately won't matter at all if the Texans don't build on what they did in those 2 games. But Tennessee wasn't going to matter unless they built on it with Baltimore, and they started red hot with the best drive of the season against the Baltimore Ravens. Okay? So they built on it. Now they've got to build on the 2 successful games on offense, Tennessee and Baltimore, and they've got to do it against better opponents. The Seahawks, the 49ers, the Broncos, the Jaguars are their next 4 opponents. And again, week 4 and week 5, the adjustment, the direction the offense is headed won't matter for anything if they don't build on it. But at least they're headed down a direction, and they've showcased, even against bad opponents, that they have something that they can consistently do as an offense. They're going to trust their quarterback's accuracy and decision-making. They're going to try like hell to keep him upright. They're going to be tough and physical at the line of scrimmage and try to run the football the best they can. And every now and then they're going to sneak in a big explosive play. And as they get more comfortable and as they are more successful early on, Nick Caley promised he'd get deeper into the playbook. That's exactly what he did against the Baltimore Ravens. So for a variety of reasons, 1, it's inherently more watchable. 2, it showed the ability to evolve and contrast with the guys that are in charge of the offense. And 3, it showed the ability to help the guys in charge of the offense evolve and get on the right path. Those are things that are really exciting about this offensive direction the Texans are now headed, because it looked like they were going this way when the first 3 weeks were over. Now, I wouldn't say they're totally going this way, but they're at the very least, headed up the side of the mountain. They're not taking a shortcut all the way straight up, but they're at least headed in a direction. Maybe this is the better way to do it. They're at least headed in a direction that looks like you can see where this would be successful for them on offense. What do you make of the evidence here for the Houston Texans headed in the right direction on offense? Let me know in the comment section down below. You happy with the offensive performance? You still want to see more? Let me know also in the comment section down below. Appreciate you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon.